Thank you. If we have any boys on the call as well, this information goes both ways. So boys that want to play in college, girls that want to play in college, or just kind of explore and see what's out there. I hope that this conversation is, beneficial for everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And I'm just pulling up that document that I put in the chat. So first in this document are some resources that I think are really great, whether you're going to play in college or not, just to start like exploring what's out there. We all know the big schools. We all know the schools that are on TV every week and that we hear about all the time, but there are so many more programs and schools out there that just might not even be on your radar. So these first three links are basically just resources to explore colleges. And I like these three because you can kind of play with the filters and, be super, super picky about your schools. And it'll spit out a list of schools that meet your like super specific criteria. And so just kind of seeing what's out there and maybe starting a list of colleges that you want to reach out to based on research that you've done with these three links. There's other resources out there. These are just three of, my favorites. But if you don't know where to start, this might be a really good place to just start looking and seeing who you might want to start contacting. Next is an NCAA clearinghouse link. This is stuff that has to get taken care of, mostly in your junior and senior year, that just gets you eligible for playing in college, but you can go ahead and create an account whenever you're ready for that. And then a link to University Athlete, which is a service that all colleges use for recruiting. I'll let maybe Amanda go first to talk about how important University Athlete is in the recruiting process for her.
Okay, yeah. Hi. University Athlete is definitely important. It's pretty much how all of us college coaches navigate every single tournament. So most of the time when you see us walking around through the tournament with our head in our phones, it's not because we're texting, we're using University Athlete. So we can actually, if let's say somebody emails us, we can look them up in University Athlete, mark them, and it'll show us their schedule, what court they're on, what time they play for every game for that whole tournament. On the flip side of that, we can just be walking around. Let's say I see number 5 on court 10. I'm like, oh, wow, that could really impress me. I can look on court 10, see the game that's going on. I can then look up that player, look up their information. And now that kid's on my radar for recruiting. But it is so important that they put all of this information in University Athlete, because if their information is not in there, there's absolutely no way that we know how to contact them. We can do it the old school way, go through the club, talk to their coach, and then get their information that way. But and today we want everything to be nice and streamlined. So having that information in University Athlete is super important, because that's how most of them get noticed. That's how we keep track of them, and that's how we follow them during their tournaments.
Yeah, I think we do our best on the club side to that information gets put into University Athlete when we sign up for tournaments. But if for some reason we're missing an email, or you want your email to go to a specific email and it's not the one that we have on file for you, you can make those updates. I think University Athlete has a place now for you to add a link to video so that that's there in your University Athlete profile. So we definitely try to keep it as updated on our end at RVC as we can, but you have 100% control of what is out there on University Athlete. So, log in, look at your profile, update it, make sure the contact info is correct. If you are playing not in your year, if you're I'll use 2018 because that's easy. If you're if you're an 18s, then you're a 2024 kid. But if you are really a 2025 kid, you want to make sure that that information is in university athlete. So when the coach is at an 18s court, they're not assuming that you're just a 2024. And maybe you fit into their 2025 recruiting class. So update university athlete for sure.
Rose, I don't know if it's just me, but just so you know, you're cutting in and out. So I don't know if everyone's having the same problem or not, but I just want to give you a heads up.
Okay, dang it. My internet's, but let's see. Okay, then I will try to talk as little as possible and let Amanda and Hannah talk. So the next thing I have on here is for emails. So I'll invite Hannah to just talk about what she likes to see in like a very first initial email. What is going to keep you from going to, I'll look at it later, or I'll, trash bin, which is definitely where you don't want to be. Hannah, can you talk about that?
Yeah, put your name, what position you are, and your year. Really, it's that simple. GPA is good. If you're, a 6.5 middle, that would be great if you put that in there. Just keep it simple. And then in the body, just, hi, my name is so and so. If you send a long email with a story attached, I'm gonna scroll through. I'm not gonna read it. And I think that's pretty common for most coaches. They're just not gonna read a long email. So name, position, age / year you're graduating, your club team, and definitely, most importantly, a link to your film. If we just get a random, hi, I want to come play for you, but no link to the film, I'm not really gonna take the time to search you up. And YouTube, Instagram, Sports Recruit, which I know we'll get into, but any type of link to your film so we can see you play would be great. Is great.
And maybe Amanda and Hannah, you both want to talk about this. It's not because they don't want to get to know the recruits, but there's so many emails all the time that they want to make sure that you're the athlete, that your athletic ability fits the program, and then they're going to invest the time in getting to know you. So it's not that they don't want to hear your story. It's just that the first and foremost, do you fit our program athletically?
You were cutting in and out again, but I think, yeah, I would agree. It's not that we don't want to get to know you, because that is very important. Like every college coach is going to want to make sure that your personality fits in with the culture that we have on the team, that you're a kid that we can trust, because I think that's also really important. So yeah, 100% we want to get to know everybody. But the amount of emails we get, if we took the time to get to know every single person that emailed us, we would never have time to actually recruit. So we want to see, what do you have to offer athletically? And then like, okay, if we're interested and we feel like you'd be a good fit, then like, yes, then I want to get to know you as a person. But your first email shouldn't be what that is. Like how I do my recruiting calls is if I see some film, you send me an email, I'm interested, my next initial step in the recruiting process is a FaceTime. And that's when I get to know you, not through your email. So I know everyone does things a little bit differently, but yes, we do want to get to know you. But in that first email, just let me know what I need to know.
Yeah, agreed.
How do you feel when you get an email from a recruiting service about an athlete?
I think Hannah and I share similar opinion on this. We want to hear from you, not your parent, not a recruiting service, not your sister, not your uncle, aunt, whatever. I want to hear from you. We want to see you take initiative. This is your first step into adulthood and, kind of accepting some responsibility. So seeing that you're able to do that early, that you're able to communicate, take initiative, be responsible. That's what we want to see. So for me, I don't even look at emails that come from recruiting services. I'm just being honest. Those go straight in the trash. If an email comes from a parent, go straight in the trash. If it doesn't come from a kid, if it comes from your coach, I'll take a look at it. But most of the time, I still want to hear from you personally.
If I'm looking and I'm just looking to look, I may look at it, but there are so many free services out there for you, the athlete, to get recruited because it is your job. You're the one who wants to go and play. And then after that, after like an initial conversation, then I always talk to the parents at tournaments. I'm always over there talking to them. I'll ask the club coach, hey, how is she doing? And just ask them questions to help get to know you on a different side. But if you, the athlete, wants to get recruited, it should come from you, not anybody else.
Thanks. So we're some notes for me. Can you guys maybe talk a little bit about showcases and if you use them, how you use them, if you think they're a good tool?
Yeah, it depends on the showcase. So if it's a big tournament, I always go to the showcases. So like Capitol Hill, go to that showcase, Big South. Those are just two off the top of my head. But like the bigger tournaments, I most likely go to those showcases. It kind of depends. Some of those like random ones that are just like third party companies that are doing them, not affiliated with any sort of tournament. I'm not usually using my recruiting budget to go to those. So most of the time I'm going to the ones that are associated with somewhere I'm already going to be. But I do think that they are good for getting seen, but mostly if they're just at a tournament you're already going to be at where coaches are already at. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, same. The ones in the summer camps, there's a couple that I'll go to. That also are showcases. They're a little bit more 6-on-6 at times. Those are typically beneficial because you're getting seen by a wide range of coaches at the like CCSC and exact camps. There are D1s all the way down to NIAI, JUCO. So those are more beneficial and they're better organized than some of the like I went to the Big South one last year and it didn't seem very organized. But it was my first time going. But so the summer camps I would advocate more for. But going to the big ones at Big South and if JVA Louisville does one, that's probably another good one. And you also get to play with different style of volleyball when you go to the bigger ones too.
Hannah, what was the name of the camp in the summer?
CCSC, it has a long name.
College
And
Coaches Showcase.
yeah, and exact as well.
I'm like 98% sure that's what that means. So don't hold me 100% to that.
Oh, you're right. I think that's right.
I'll look it up.
And I've recruited quite a few athletes from both of those camps that were just either under the radar or I saw and it's like, all right, let's go after this kid because they're pretty good.
Yeah, the libero I just signed for this year, I actually saw at a CCSC camp.
Love that. I will definitely link that in. These are just my little notes on what a video should include, and I'm talking about that first video that you send to a coach. So I know when I was coaching, it was I do kind of want to just see the highlights, get me something I'm interested in, and then let me go and ask for like full game footage if I want to see full game footage. How do you guys approach it?
Yeah, same. Highlight just to see, grab my attention. I can tell what I need to tell from a highlight for the most part to know if I want to know more. But having full game film is so important. So I'm not ever going to recruit somebody off of your highlights because that doesn't really show me everything that I need to know. But yeah, first email should just be highlights and then just make sure you have full film available.
Yeah. For those highlights, we don't need any special stuff around. Just show us, if you're an attacker, we want to see the full approach. Maybe you're covering yourself and a little bit after your contact, same with setting. And even for the whole thing, we don't just want to see you hit the ball and then it go to the next one while you're still in midair. We want to see the whole thing. so that we can evaluate different parts of your game, and even like getting blocked. That's fine too. How do you react from that? Even though it can be in a highlight, it can also just be in a parts of your film, but just the whole thing. And then if you're gonna put serving in, I would suggest putting it at the end. Unless you have like a gnarly topspin jump serve. But other than that, serving at the end, if you're outside and you are a 3 rotation outside who hits the ball really hard, that comes first. If you're a libero who is better at serve receive, I want to see that first. What your strengths are first.
Yeah, and just to go off of that, because this is something Hannah and I have talked about so much, it's just funny, that's why I laughed. With the highlighting video, when she was saying like we don't need all the extra stuff. So the thing that like drives me the most crazy is if, okay, they put a circle around you, but it stops the film. So when that happens, we are now not seeing your full approach. We're not seeing how you transition. So every time they do that little thing that shows where you are, they stop the film. It messes up the whole sequence of your film. So we're not actually seeing in real time what we need to see. So that's what we mean by all that extra stuff. So yes, just tell us what your jersey number is. We don't need the pause and circle. We can see numbers. So I think that's also like a really important thing.
If I'm someone who doesn't get a lot of playing time, would you accept like practice footage?
100%.
I don't think skills videos are the way to go when it's so isolated. But practice, I mean, my current athletes watch practice film anyways to watch different things about what they do. I watch practice film on us. So wherever you're getting good quality touches and you feel that's showing your skill the best is a great way to show off.
Thanks. All right, moving on to phone calls. I feel like the kids want to go further and further away from phone calls, back from when I was recruiting. So I just listed a bunch of different questions if you just want questions in your arsenal for when you make phone calls to coaches. But is your interaction with kids on the phone important to you?
Yes.
Yes.
I will not, for me, like I said, I'm a FaceTimer because I want to see how you're reacting. I want to see your facial expressions. Like I want to get to know you as a person. So if you can't be personable with me and I can't get to know you, then like I probably am not going to bring you into my program. For me, like I think for most coaches, you don't really have a choice. Like we're all going to want to talk to you on the phone. So like being comfortable with talking on the phone is something you're just going to have to do. I don't think any coach at a respectable program is ever going to recruit a kid that won't get on the phone and talk to them. So I think it's super important. And like knowing the questions to ask, like having good questions, I think that also just comes into knowing what you want. Sometimes when you don't really have an idea of what you want, you don't really know the right questions to ask. So I think kind of like Rose was saying in the beginning, getting an idea of what you want is going to help you know what questions to ask.
Yeah, 100%. I had a phone call earlier today and it went fine and we just chatted for 30 minutes and I've been going more on the route of just phone calls just because sometimes my internet is not the best and sometimes theirs isn't. But can you have a conversation and ask questions? Because at the end of the day, I think we're also developing humans and we want cool humans working with us, doing the sport that we love.
Yeah.
This little blurb down here for me is about camps. Am I still choppy?
No, you're good.
Okay. And it's more specifically going to camps at the schools. So I think once you've decided that playing in college is something that you want to do, a good use of your money is to go to camps at the schools that you are interested in. A lot of times you get to stay in the dorms, you get to eat the food, you get to meet the players, you get to kind of experience maybe what it's like being on campus. So if you have it in the budget to do some camps in the summer, pick schools that you're interested in and let the coach know that you're interested in their school and to like check you out while you're at camp.
Can I make a comment on that really quick, Rose? Okay. Just for an example, for us, we don't typically do summer camps just because it hasn't worked out for us or we haven't been able to do them. But I'll have girls email me, and what we did last year is we actually did a combined recruit camp with VCU. So even though on our website it didn't say that we had a camp, if the girl emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm interested in playing in front of you this summer. Are you going to be at any camps?" And then I can also tell you what camps I will be at. So you might not be able to come to a camp at my school, but you can still get an opportunity to play in front of me. So that's kind of what happened this past summer. Is I said, "Hey, we're not doing a camp this year, but I'm going to be at this camp," and I invited about 5 or 6 recruits. And then we were able to bring them onto our campus and do a tour after. So if there is no camp listed on the website, a good question to ask would be, what camps are you going to be at if it's a coach that you want to get in front of as well?
Yeah, and we do a lot of camps on the other side, and we have a lot of colleges have what they would call like an elite camp or a prospect camp, which is come spend a day with the team and be a part of our culture. On our camps, we do skills, and then we spend about an hour after lunch touring the campus, letting our campers ask our athletes what they want to know about the program, and then we end with more playing. And I think that is also, okay, sorry, I had a work email. Camps are a great way to get on campus and get the vibe of campus and hanging out with the team, because most college athletes are typically at those camps anyways,
Yeah.
if they're off campus.
So what is your advice to get started? Someone who hasn't done anything yet, what do you think they should do? Putting
Very
you on the
beginning.
spot.
Okay. Well, I think first thing is, like I said, like you have to get an idea of what you're interested in. And if you don't have any idea, that's fine. But I think like use one of those resources that Rose has listed. There's probably so many options of things that you might be interested in that you absolutely had no idea that was something that existed. So I think just like doing some research, getting an idea of maybe a place you would like to be. I think the second thing is going to be getting some film together and having things ready to be able to send to coaches. Because if you can send as many emails if you want, but if you don't have your work done, if you don't have your film together, if you don't have this and this and that, it's kind of going to delay your process, because that's going to be the first thing that we ask for. So I think just like doing your research, getting your materials together, and then being able to send them out to coaches. Even if you're not super sure what you want, I think just getting the practice of sending emails and getting the practice of having these phone calls, it is really good. It could not be the right fit. You can have a phone call and be like, "I'm absolutely not interested in that school," but now you know things that you're not interested in. So every phone call you have, every email you send, it could kind of like point you in the direction of where you want to go.
Yeah. And then on the college, like academic side of things, do they have what you want to major in? If you kind of know what you want to major, or I kind of want to do something in the sciences, do you want to go in-state, out of state? Do you know that part? And start there. I think the in-state, out of state is important, because I'm from Texas and I'm all the way out here. So I look for athletes who want to come to a different school and a different environment, as well as looking at kids in Virginia. Do you think about the academic side first and then go into the volleyball side, and have your film ready? Because at the end of the day, the amount of college athletes that turn pro is so small that you're there to get a degree and make sure it's something that you want. So I would say start with the academic briefly, and then do the volleyball work of the film and making sure you're on UA and YouTube with film.
Yeah.
I think what, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, this is just like one thing that I think is maybe not talked about enough or like overlooked in the recruiting process. But like Hannah was saying, like how academics is so important. You need to make sure that the school that you're going to is somewhere that you would want to be, regardless if you're playing volleyball or not, because anything can happen. But also like your academics are important, but also like being able to enjoy where you're at is also very important, because if you're just there for volleyball, there's so much more in your life that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, that making sure the school is something that is the right fit for you as a human being and not just as an athlete is really important thing to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to tell all my recruits, my job as your coach is not to like make you happy every day. And honestly, like if I'm pushing you to be the best athlete that you can be, you're not going to be happy with me every day. And you're going to have a tough class and you're going to have a tough week and you're going to be mad at me sometimes. And like, so if you don't like where you are, if you don't like the school that you're at, that's just going to compound, and not be a good situation for you. And so I used to kind of get that out in front first with my recruits, like you have to like being here.
Yeah.
And just like Amanda said, would you go to this school? Maybe it wouldn't be your first choice of schools if you weren't playing volleyball, but would you go here if you weren't playing volleyball? So I agree with that totally. And I guess we'll get into a little bit talking about the different like levels now that you can play at. And sort of this would be my approach if I wasn't sure what level I was going to play at. I would start by sending like 10 emails to Division 1, 10 emails to Division 2, 10 emails to Division 3, all with my video links and everything, and like see what the biggest like reply was, right? And if all the D3 schools reply to me and a couple of the D2s and none of the D1s, well, my athletic ability is probably more D3, and so if you're not sure where to start on that, what level you are, and there's also NAIA and junior college. So you sort of have to decide how big of like a net you're willing to cast. And if you have a list of 5 schools and it's those 5 schools or nothing, your chances of playing in college might be a lot smaller. But if you're willing to cast a larger net and go out of state and go to a JUCO and, do other things, you might, and you're on one of our state teams, that might be the route that you go for playing in college. But I do truly believe that if you want to play in college, there is a level for everyone. You just have to be willing to cast that like large net and find it. I played with a girl in high school who went to a junior college for 2 years and then went Division 1 for her last 2 years. It definitely happens. I know Amanda's had junior college kids on her team before. So junior college is it's not a bad way to start. Especially if you're, a little bit later to the game or just not as skill developed as some of the top, players that are going D1. Doesn't mean you can't go D1, but, junior college might be the place for you to start. You guys want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, just for me, the appeal to junior colleges, to us as college coaches is if we know we need to fill a position immediately, these kids already have experience playing at a higher level. So like just because someone goes to junior college, it doesn't mean, that they're lesser than. It's kind of almost an advantage in some programs, depending on what those recruiting needs are, because we're like, okay, this, we can recruit a kid to come in right now and they're going to be ready to play because they've been doing this already for 2 years and they've had the training and they've had the higher competition level. Did you want just on JUCOs or just all of it?
You can give your thoughts on all of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I totally agreed with what you said. I think sending the 10 emails to each division is like a great way to start because, and even within the divisions between D2, D3, D1, some D3 teams could probably beat a D1 team. There are different divisions, but the level of play just depends on the university, the conference, like each school is different. I mean, we've played some D3 teams that kicked our little booties. We've also played some D3 teams that we, beat, and we're Division 2. It just kind of depends on the school, in the level of competition between there. Like, yes, there is, a clear distinction between D1, D2, and D3, but some D2s are better than D1s. Some D3s are better than D2s. It just kind of depends on the school.
Mhm. Also, I worked in D1 for 7 years. Not every D1 athlete gets a scholarship. most have 12. There are quite a few that don't have 12 and that they can break apart. And then I know in D2, what is it, like 8? And then most of them you can break apart. Where in D3, we only give academic money, and it's not, there's athletics has nothing to do with the academic money. So on the JUCO front, if you want to play in college, but financially you need something that's just cheaper, JUCO is the way to go. You do it for 2 years. Okay, I'm ready to go play at a higher level. And then you go that way. Or, oh, I did it for a year, I'm done. Then that's fine too. So JUCO is a good stepping stone. And yeah, like sometimes we want a libero to come in ready to take over. And a spot opened up that wasn't there 2 years ago. So JUCO is a valid way to go. And so is NIAI if you want something different with just different rules. Yeah.
Yeah, and JUCOs have money, scholarship money too. So like Hannah said, if if you need the financial assistance and you're not getting it because you're more of a D3 player, go JUCO for 2 years, have no debt, get it all paid for, play, and then transfer, and maybe you do get a scholarship. Or the school that you go to has scholarship money specifically set aside for junior college transfers. You know, there's all kinds of academic and special scholarships for everything out there. Um, but yeah, I mean, the financial side, JUCO could definitely be the answer for some people there. Because
Can I make one more comment? Oh, sorry,
Mhm.
Joyce.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wasn't. Oh, I think just to like kind of piggyback on what I was saying before with the different levels. I think people sometimes get stuck into, oh, I want to play D1. It's D1 or nothing. But I think people need to have the mindset of I'm going to play where I fit in. What's the best fit for me? Where am I going to be the most successful? And that, like I said, some D1s, the level of play is the same as a D3. Some D3s are the same as a D2. So I think people get really stuck on, oh, I want to play D3, I want to play D2, I want to play D1. Play where you are going to be the most successful, where somebody sees your worth. If someone's telling you, hey, I want you to be a part of my program, and it might not be ideally the level of play you thought you were going to be at, like, that's okay. But I think that's something that maybe people don't think about enough of, like, it's okay to not go to where you envisioned or thought you were going to be, but there is a place for you. But just go to where you're valued, go to where you're going to excel, go to where you're going to be pushed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I agree totally. If you want to play in college, there is a place for you. Um, and you know, it's just about finding it. And uh it might take a little more work to find it if you're not that kid that's hitting balls on the 10-foot line, or you're not 6'3", but or touching 10 feet. Might take a little more work on your end, but that you know, is definitely there's definitely an option for everybody. Sorry, there's something in the chat. We obviously are parents on this call of travel players. Is it okay to talk to RVC coaches to get feedback and input on what a college trajectory might look like for our players from the coach perspective? This perhaps this could help them understand the best level of play.
We
Hannah, I'm coming for you. What age grade should
we
we
have a lot of
start? Are you
we have a lot of kids already on the tracks you guys are talking about. We have a lot of kids already doing the JUCO thing. Is a brilliant idea. That's a new thing that started only 3-4 years ago. Yes, you ought to talk to your coaches about feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it depends on who your coach is to know what level, you know, college, you know, your player might be. You know,
Here's
I think the college coaches and the responses from the college coaches are going to be the most telling about what level you are. I would hate for
your
a coach to be like, you're a D1, you're D1, you're D1, and then you don't really get any D1 looks, and then it's in your head that you're a D1 player, and so you just give up on the rest of it. I would really I mean, 100%. I trust our RVC coaches and talk to them and whatever, but the college coaches are going to be the ones that truly are going to be the feedback givers in what level your athletic ability is. And that's just kind of what it comes down to.
And then you asked about the age, right?
It's what Amanda said. Do they value you? If they value you, it's a business. They'll take care of you. But you got to be valued at that level. And there's definitely many levels. The other one is most people do play their way in money in D1. And I will say this, having learned through my daughter and others, spring money is easier to get than fall money, particularly with the super COVID years. There was a lot of people who played their freshman year, paid their tuition, and then to hold the scholarship, they gave it to them in the spring and signed somebody in the COVID during the summer. But again, that's at the highest levels. Find 4 questions. Does it have your major? What are the demographics? How are you going to pay for it? What's the consistency of the volleyball program? For a lot of kids, their academics is higher than their volleyball.
Yeah.
And as far as the age, because I think that was the last question on there, what age to start? It depends. Each level is a little bit different of when we can reach out and talk to you. For us, we can't reach out and talk to you until June of your junior year. So you can start reaching out to us whenever, but we can't always respond until that timeline. But I think, your sophomore, junior year is when you should be really heavily recruiting and reaching out to coaches.
When possible, try to go to a summer camp at the school you want to attend. That explains why Bailey. Oops.
Oh, I thought it was a question. I don't know if they were talking to
Yeah.
us, but it was a good point. They can talk to you if you're at the summer camp.
Yes.
So if you're a freshman or a sophomore and you make it to a summer camp, the coach can talk to you at the camp.
For D3 and JUCOs, we can talk to, I think freshmen and sophomores, at least sophomores. I can have electronic communication with them. However, it also depends on what we're currently working on. I'm still working on my 24 class. And so my focus is 24s and 25s. I've had a couple of 26s email us. So those are currently sophomores. And I've looked at them, but I just don't have the ability to have a conversation with them yet. But in terms of starting your process, you don't need film at 14. And maybe 15 is hit or miss depending on the level, but definitely starting your 16s and 17s year, that's when your film is important, because those are the ages that we start really looking at athletes. But 14's film and below, not really that important, because you're going to make tremendous strides by the time you're from 14 to 16.
Yeah. But I mean, and it kind of is as early as you want to get started. We have a kid on our 18s right now. She's going to Radford next year. She really didn't even come on to the travel scene until she was 17s. Made really great progress, did really well, is going to go play at Radford next year. So, you can get started late, but also like getting started early is also really great too. I just don't want to discourage anyone if they are already, 17s from getting started, if that's what they want to do.
I have a girl on my team right now who has only been playing volleyball for 3 years, and she ended up being second team all conference.
So it's never too late. It's never too late to get started.
Never
The earlier
too
the
late.
better.
Yeah.
Clark, someone asked if you could put the questions that you said in the chat. Do they have major? Oh, someone put that in there already. Okay.
Clark is learning how to use the chat. I'll be with you.
Someone put them in there for you, Clark. You don't have to do it. They're in there. Thanks, London. We can open it up for questions now if you want to drop something in the chat or you want to come off mute. There's how many people are in here? 23 people. So if it gets too chatty in the coming off mute, maybe questions in the chatter better, but we can definitely open it up. We did such a good job.
It's so quiet, everyone's typing.
Yeah, probably.
I also think there's a hand raise thing on here. Maybe not. Maybe
know
that's
on-
on Teams.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
there
know
is.
Teams has it, which is awesome.
Okay, it is. If you go on more, you can raise your hand too.
Mm.
So just a little.
Here's a question. Oh nope, that's a lot. Sorry. I mean, if we answered all of your questions, great. That's awesome. I feel like we talked a lot, so I wanted to give you the chance to get anything in there. You know, and this is, if you haven't thought about it yet, this is a lot of information, and I don't want it to feel overwhelming. Chunk it, take it one little part at a time. And you know, I'm here, Chris Wakefield is here. You know, Amanda and Hannah now. We can help, we can all help if you have questions. We can all help if you have questions and get you started and get on the right path. And I guess one thing I will add, it is in here. If you are a freshman or a sophomore and you are emailing, please put your coach's email, put my email, put an adult's email, because not your parents, but they can email us. So if you send an email to a coach, a college coach, they can't email you back. But if you're like, hey, my coach is so and so, please email them with questions or whatever, they can email your coach. So please add an email, a way for them to contact someone that's not you or your parents if they want to continue the conversation. Which that information is in this document that they to do that. Does RVC give recommendation or help to partner with their player they're making these decisions? We're happy to help you. And you know, I can only give recommendations for coaches that I know personally. You know, Amanda probably knows a little bit different group of coaches. Hannah knows a little bit different group. I had someone reach out about Lynchburg, which is, you know, D3 in Lynchburg, and the coach there is fantastic. You know, she's a great person.
She just left.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. She got the
she
beach
got
job at Wingate.
Yep.
All
But
right,
their
well,
interim's awesome.
so, you know, if we know them, then certainly we can give our recommendations. And but I think if we don't know them, our best advice is for you to get to know them and see if they'd be a good fit for you. I hope that answers your question, Tony.
It does. It does. I'm just wondering from as your daughter's kind of going, as my daughter's going through the process and making those final decisions, like where does RVC partner in there? I know we have a relationship obviously with Clark and Chris because she's played on those teams, but where does where do you see yourself like partnering in those relationships as a club?
It would just be, you know, if the college coach reached out to us and wanted information about your daughter, we're there to, you know, give information, get them connected with the people. If I know a lot of kids on our program, I don't know all of them, but get them connected with the coach that does know them and can get the information. But you know, we really, and I don't think necessarily, I mean, maybe other clubs do it differently, but we don't really partner with any, you know, universities. We're not like funneling kids to specific schools or promoting one school over another school. We're out there to kind of help you make the best decision that you can. And honestly, it's not something we've been super great at in the past. You know, we haven't really done a conversation like this for the entire club since pre-COVID. So we're trying to do a better job in that and start these conversations and be a support for you. It's something that we definitely are working on within the club.
Yep, this is fantastic. Have you ever thought about, because I know a long time ago there was like a George Mason like clinic where they kind of brought people in. Have you thought about in different colleges and doing that again? I don't know how successful that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I remember when they did it. It was good. They liked it. And it's just a timing thing. College coaches kind of have a small window of when they can actually do camps that doesn't interfere with like recruiting rules and stuff. So, they have to like not be running their own camp and be able to come do one with us. I actually just started emailing today with Tim Doyle at BCU to try to get something potentially going with them. But we work on it when we can get them in, we do.
Thank you. This is very helpful. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad you thought it was helpful. All right. Well, I'm not going to take any more of your Monday evening. Thank you for joining us. Amanda and Hannah, thank you. You guys were great. And let us know how we can help. We're here.
Yeah, definitely don't mind helping if anyone ever has questions.
Same.
Bye.
Okay, bye.